It's Anthony from Ngucaj, and you're listening to the Marketing Pains podcast. Please don't tell these prices to nobody. It's gonna kill us. During the window treatment, you gotta get a contractor. You gotta get deals with designers or maybe window companies. Oh man, if you can hit a window company, because as soon as you install a new window, guess what? You need new shades, right? I provided the product and I installed, right? Because if I just did installation, how much I'm gonna charge? No, you don't know everything. I'm sorry.
It's time for another episode of Marketing Pains, the podcast about marketing for window treatment and awning companies.
Welcome to another episode of Marketing Pains, the podcast where we talk with real window treatment and awning professionals about what's working in marketing, what's changing in the industry, and how to grow smarter. Today's guest is the founder of Ngucaj, a custom window treatment company serving both residential and commercial clients. He built his business from hands-on experience in construction and installation and has grown Ngucaj into a company focused on clean, modern solutions. He's worked on everything from smaller residential projects to large-scale commercial installs, including projects with up to 1,000 roller shades. What makes his story especially interesting is the evolution. He's gone from competing on price through platforms like Thumbtack to developing a more strategic approach around pricing, efficiency, and scalability, with clear goals on building a business that doesn't rely on him being on site for every job. At the same time, he's balancing that growth with family life, including being a dad, and thinking intentionally about what kind of business he wants to build long term. This conversation is about growth, mistakes, pricing reality, and what it takes to transition from installer to business owner. Welcome to the show, Anthony Ngucaj.
Hi, how are you?
Fantastic. I'm really happy to have you here today. Let's jump in and talk about the beginning, like the origin story. How did you get into window treatments from a background in construction?
Out of necessity, to be honest with you.
Okay.
Our shade guy, Steve, who's my mentor now, whether he realized it or not, but he is. So we would finish our projects, and my dad's name is Bill, and the interior designers would say, okay, Bill, you did a great job. Now we need shades, we need to sleep. And so my dad would be like, okay, let me call Steve. Steve will be available and everything. But I guess he grew. So it came to a point where Steve wouldn't just be like, okay, I'm coming. He'd be like, wait a minute, how many shades are and how many are motorized? He will have a minimum. And then once if everything went okay, he'll come. So a time came where he wasn't available, nobody was available, and then I spoke to my dad. I said, "Hey, we got a problem here. We're completing 99%. We gotta take the extra 1%. I have some experience. I worked in hotels, and they teach you everything: shades, AC, elevators, whatever." And I said, "You know what? I'm gonna do it." And so that's how I got into it. Necessity.
Yeah, that's great. You mentioned working with your dad before you started your own thing. What made you want to branch out and kind of start your own business?
I did have an honest conversation with my dad because I've been with him since I was 15 years old. Immigrant family. Home. What you call it, family business. And I started as a translator. Okay, Dad, the customer said this. Okay, Miss, my dad is saying this. It started like that. And then time passed. I started managing multiple projects at the same time, for everything. And then before you know it, I graduated my college in 2014 or so. So I was maybe 22 or something like that. And then some more time passed. The problem with having a family business is you get comfortable fast, because you get into this assumption that, okay, I'm going to take over. But as time passes by, it's kind of like, okay, I need to do my own thing. Do I have a future here? I had a conversation with my dad about this. It was uncomfortable, and we got to the point and we said, listen, you know what? I got to do my own thing. I'm married now, And so, that's how I got started. It was a little uncomfortable in the beginning, for sure, because as you know, I started from Thumbtack, and it was just these tiny projects, one shade here, $50 there, but over time, it just, as you said, evolved. Yeah, that's how I got started. You were about to mention the early grind. Man, it was tough because my first customer I lost her because we had completed the project. We did an entire renovation, entire house, beautiful house. And then I go up there. I'm like, "Hey, how are you guys doing? I'm here to do your window treatments." They looked at me like I came from the moon. They were like, "Anthony, what are you doing here?" Yeah. I'm like, "What? I'm here to do your window treatments." They're like, okay, I guess do your thing. I don't know. And they were telling me stuff I've never heard of. Cellular shades. All I knew was roller shades. That's all I knew. They were telling me
Okay.
cellular shades, Hunter Douglas, Gerber, something like that. I'm like, wait, what? What is cellular shades? I swear to God, I thought cellular shades was with the phone. I said, oh, it must be something you can control from your phone.
Fair
But
enough.
I lost her because, to be honest with you, she could tell that I had no idea what I was talking about. So that was embarrassing. But then some more time passed, and I had my first customer, and I don't remember her name, but she was maybe in her 60s, could have been early 70s, and she had a problem with her vertical blinds, right? And still, I mean, I was just like figuring it out, and I had told her, listen, miss, I'm all about customer service, and I'm trying to save you money, and I'm gonna do the minimum that I can, so you don't have to buy a new shade or something like that. Because I'm not here to upsell. I'm here to take care of
Yeah.
you and your needs. And so when uh, 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 by the time I went through, I had gone there 3 times. Very nice lady, paid me every time, and then it got to a point where I called Steve and I said, Steve, man, listen, I'm trying to fix this vertical blind and it's giving me a freaking headache. And then Steve was like, we should have called me sooner. I would have told you, don't waste your time. Just tell her,
Amen.
buy a new track, a headrail, and then that's it. Because the clips, the carriers, whatever that carry the vines, right, that were
Yep.
broken. And because these were old fashioned ones, to replace them, it was impossible.
Right.
And so by the time I told her this, she said, okay, send me a quote. And like I didn't add anything on top. I just told her, listen, this size costs this much. I just sent her a link and everything. And then she said, look, you know what? To be honest with you, we spent so much money at this point that we're just going to leave it as it is, you know?
Yeah.
But to this day, to be honest with you, if I could have not charged her, it would make me feel so good. You know why? Because she reminded me of my grandma who had passed away maybe like 2, 3 years before her. Very nice lady. But everything's a learning experience. And over time, you evolve and you gotta adapt that business. To be honest with you,
Yeah.
well, business like
Yeah.
that. I know since a very young kid, I've been in the business world, but and I've seen two different types of business professionals, business owners, right? There's the first type where they're strict. It's this is what I do. Have a nice day. I've been doing it for 30 years. Have a nice day, right? And then there's the other one, which I'm not gonna lie, it's more of the modern generation, right? Where they analyze trends and they see, okay, I've spent X amount of time doing this activity. Maybe I should switch around and do something else instead within the same market, obviously, right? To be honest with you, the way that things are flowing, things are changing so fast, technology, AI, you have to. You will be left in the dust, and they're gonna be like, "What? Skuga who?" You know, you know. They're gonna be like, "What?" Nah,
Yep.
must adapt. You have to go with the flow. And I don't remember the scientist's name, but he said survival of the fittest. Charles Darwin. Talk about
Yeah.
evolution. He said survival of the fittest. When he said that, he didn't mean the strongest, the fastest. He meant who can fit into any given situation best. That's what that means. It's about
Yeah.
adapting to any situation, to your customer, to the market. It's a lot. So it's been, man, it's been a journey.
Yeah. Yeah. So speaking of the early grind and kind of getting those first customers, tell me about the name Skuga. Where did that come from?
Ah, gosh, that's hilarious. First of all, that's where when I first got the idea of opening a window treatment business, I told my wife and I said, you know what? That's it. I'm done. I got to do my own thing. And what I do know is Steve, he makes a lot of money, he's not very rich, but he's doing okay.
Yeah.
Maybe I should do that. I'm good with my hands and this and that. We had a little discussion. And then she said, I don't know. What you going to do? You're going to sell shades, Anthony? You're a nerd. What are you going to sell? I said, listen, man, I got to make some money. And you know what? Whatever. And whatever she said, all right, you know what? If you're gonna do this, let's do it properly. Let's set a name. I said, I have no idea what I'm gonna do. Call it Anthony's Blinds. There's so many Anthony's out there. And then it came to us just so random. I said, yo, you're taking a master's degree in Sweden, kind of, right? And she said, yeah. I said, what's shade or blinds in Swedish? It's so random. And then we
Yeah.
looked it up and she said, oh, it's Skuga. I said, oh, okay, that sounds kind of weird, but it sounds unique because what does Google it? What's Google? It has no meaning
Right.
to it, right? What about Yahoo? It's Yahoo. It makes no sense, right? It's actually kind of funny, right? So I said it doesn't need to mean anything, doesn't have to sound cool. It just has to stick to somebody's brain. And it's short, and we say, hey, let's do it. And Skuga means
I love it.
shades in Swedish. So if you see Skuga
Yeah.
blinds or whatever, a Swedish person is gonna be like, "What did he really name his company Shades?" That's where that name came from.
That's awesome. I love that. I love that. It's original, which is great. Easy to remember. It's fantastic. So, I know that you've worked across Thumbtack, we mentioned, getting referrals, and even some large commercial jobs. How do you think about pricing differently depending on the type of customer?
Well, at this moment, I'm still in the growth stage, and so from what I've noticed, there's almost two paths that you kind of have to take when it comes to growing. You know what? Window treatments, right? You have for one path, which is to do it individually, right? You talk to them individually and you say, hey, what's your budget? And whatever, read the person out, kind of get a feel and give them a range and see if you can hit some kind of middle ground, right? Or
Sure.
there's option two, but that's when you're larger, right? You can say, hey, this is our prices. We can give you a small discount, but that's it. You know what I mean? Right now, I'm not at a point where I can just say, hey, this is our prices. We charge whatever, whatever. Have a nice day, I'm at a point where I'm still trying to make connections. And so because that's, to be honest with you, to have any business sustainable, it don't matter podcast, supermarket, construction, it don't matter. It's about relationships, right? Because you can only get so many customers, I don't know, passing out ads, right? But you gotta
Right.
get, like in our instance, right, in the window treatment, you gotta get a contract, or you gotta get deals with designers, or maybe window companies. Oh man, if you can hit a window company, because as soon as you install a new window, guess what? You need new shades, right? It must have. It's about relationships. That's what it's
Yeah.
about. So right now, I'm in the phase where I'm trying to establish relationships, and then I can maybe get to a point where I can say, okay, this is our prices.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at right now.
Yeah, definitely makes sense. I know that you mentioned Thumbtack, some of those types of things. How do you decide which jobs are worth taking and which ones are not?
You know what? I would say experience, because when I first started, I would just take anything, pretty much anything. I would say, whatever, one shade, $60. That's $60 I didn't have, right? But now I have a lot going on. I'm a first time dad. Generally, I'm running on what, 4 hours of sleep. Man, if I get 6 hours of sleep, that's almost like vacation. And so and so I said to myself, okay, so let me get something right. First, I have my son's unpredictable sleep schedule, right? Which sometimes he sleeps at 9 p.m., sometimes he sleeps at 2 a.m., right?
Yeah.
And so there's that. And then there's this, I'm trying to grow this business, right? And then there's now I'm training for a New York City Marathon. But this year, I'm running it this year. And
Wow.
so I have been training for a while now. When I first started, it was like 1 mile here, 2 mile there, which is like whatever, 15 minutes, 30 minutes max, right? But now I'm at a point where I'm doing 7 miles, 8 miles. And so my work day will start 8, 9 a.m., something like that. And so if I'm doing 6 miles, that's an hour, right? So if I gotta be somewhere at 8, then that means at 7 I gotta be on my way anywhere. So that means that maybe 5:30 in the morning I gotta be up, spend an hour, 6:30. No, disgusting, I know. Forgive me. No shower, no breakfast, no nothing. Just change the shirt, and maybe my face a little bit and then continue on. And so what I'm getting at is that I realized with all this going on, time is so valuable for me. I'm not like an important guy. I'm not trying to make it, but it's just I gotta make it count. I gotta make it count, and especially now that I started selling. I guess with our language, it's I've become a dealer. Um, I've realized that there's significantly more money when you do provide and install, right? Because you can easily go to one job, and I've done a project, just one shade, and made $300 profit, right? Because I provided the product and I installed, right? Because if I just did
Right.
installation, how much I'm gonna charge? How much? How high can I go for one shade? You know what I mean? So I gotta justify it, right? You gotta provide the product, and so I said to myself, okay, so I can spend a day, even one shade. I'm telling you, it can take 5 minutes, right? Or it can take 2 hours. You don't know what's going on. You don't
Yeah.
know, until you get there. I have a customer tomorrow. Yesterday, he texted me, hey, how long is it going to take? I said, I don't know. It's going to take anywhere from 1 to 3 hours. I don't know until I get started, right? And so now, what happens is that, okay, if even one sheet can take me 1 to 3 hours, do I really want to spend 1 to 3 hours for $60? Right.
Right.
And so maybe I don't. Maybe I use that time stay home or go outside and just make phone calls or go on social media, reach out. Hey, does anybody has any extra work? Or just get on the phone and maybe optimize the business internally, right?
Yeah.
Um, Maybe mess around with the profile or make some phone calls with designers and text. Hey, I just want to say hi. Just let me know if you need something. But even though it's not physically working, all that takes time, you know?
Sure.
And
Yeah.
so within 1 hour, it's either make $60 or make nothing that day, but that one conversation could land you hundreds of dollars or in the
Right.
thousands. It could be like, you know what? Yeah, nice talking to you. Why don't we catch up? I actually have a project I want to bring you on board. I don't know, shades or whatever. And so, yeah, that day you didn't work, but that day that you spent on the phone, it made you like $1,000, $2,000, where
Right.
you will be spending that time making $60. You understand? So
Yeah.
time is very big, man. You gotta
Yeah.
choose your time very
For
carefully.
sure. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Along those lines, any mistakes that you've made around pricing that you're willing to share?
Yeah. I'm guilty. I fell into the trap of AI. I started using AI. Chat GPT is my best friend. I'm telling you. Because now I have to do a quote, for example, right? And if I'm mid install, I can't do the quote. And so I have already contacted my suppliers and they give me price lists, right?
Sure.
And then before it was just like, I don't know, $20 per shade, just install, right? And then as I grew, I said, wait a minute, hold on. Sometimes I'll do work for my suppliers, right? To, if they have too much work, I'll take it on. And then I'll say, hey man, like, so how much you pay? You know, I don't really care. He or she is my supplier. I'm not gonna nickel and dime them, right? Whatever they can pay. And so they'll be like, hey, we'll pay you $30 per shade. And I'm like, wait, what? I mean, thank you. But what? You pay me $30 per shade. So, and then in my brain, I'm like, wait a minute, I'm charging people 20 a shade, you know? So what advice can I give? Do your research. And you know what? Don't be scared. Use ChatGPT. Use whatever you got. I don't know, Gemini or whatever AI you got. Do your research, because you know what? Before you know it, you have done. I don't know. You could do. Say you just say, okay, you know what? $20 per shade. I do 5 shades. Whatever it takes you an hour or so. You made, what's that, $100 or whatever, right? Where another individual who's done a little bit of research, right, could have made 200-300, just because they priced it properly. And another thing, reach out. Don't be scared. Don't be ashamed of reaching out. You know, Steve. Going back to Steve, I can't stop talking about him. I call Steve and I say, Steve, I got this project. What do I do? And I said, how much would you charge? Steve doesn't care, because he's been doing it 40 years. He's not scared of me taking away his business.
Sure.
So he tells me, okay, I don't know, what do you have in mind? I told him, oh, $20 per shade. He's like, Anthony, please don't tell these prices to nobody. You're gonna kill us. Don't tell nobody $20 per shade. You have in mind. No, no, no. You're gonna kill us. You're gonna kill the industry. No. And I said, well, what am I supposed to do? And he's like, no, you gotta be realistic. You gotta get on the target, on the market. And I don't know, whatever he charged, like $30, $40. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so reach out, man. For sure, reach out. Don't be ashamed. Don't be like, especially if you're somebody that's intelligent. Intelligent people, we have a downside, because we think we know everything. So we don't reach out. We're like, yeah, whatever. I can figure this out. But you know what? No, you don't know everything. I'm sorry. That's the most
Yeah.
realistic thing. It don't matter how many degrees you have, right?
Yeah.
There's always somebody out there that knows more than you. It don't matter they've been 40 years in the business, or 10 years in the business, or 1 year in the business, right? Just reach out.
Yeah.
It's gonna be all right.
I think
And
smart business owners have coaches. All smart business owners have a coach, right? There's
absolutely.
some sort of coach in the background helping them make decisions, make smart decisions. And the smart ones are definitely seeking out those types of people. Yeah, very cool. When did you start to feel like you finally figured out the pricing for your business? This episode of Marketing Pains is sponsored and underwritten by my own company, Window Treatment Marketing Pros. First of all, thank you so much for taking time out of your day today to listen to the podcast. I really do appreciate it. And I hope that you're gaining some knowledge, tidbits, good information that will help your business grow. Window Treatment Marketing Pros is the only digital marketing company that works specifically with window treatment and awning companies around the U.S. We handle entire digital marketing campaigns from website design to SEO and more. With over 23 years of experience in the digital marketing arena, we can help your business get more website traffic, leads, and phone calls. We work with businesses that are experiencing significant growth or businesses that want to experience significant growth, and we have plans to fit most of those companies. If you're ready to invest in your business, you want the phone to ring more, and you have the resources to handle that growth, please schedule a short discovery call with me. I'd love the opportunity to talk with you about your business, your vision for the future, and your ultimate goals for your company. Schedule that today, and I look forward to meeting you. In the meantime, back to today's episode. All right, Anthony, before the break, I asked you, when did you start to feel like you finally figured out the pricing for your business?
Let me think about this very fast. Maybe you're gonna laugh. This year,
Okay.
January, right?
That's
Because of I started selling. I started selling products. My manufacturer told me, my supplier told me, Andy, you gotta start selling, man. You want to make money, you gotta start selling. Bob, who's another one of my mentors, I'm new with him, right? But he told me the same thing. He's like, listen, you sound like you got experience with installs. You got some kind of network going on. If you want to upgrade, you gotta start selling. So obviously, when you start selling, it changes the game, because then you're like, oh, wait a minute, what do I do? Right? A customer asks you, hey, send me a quote for this. And you say, okay, sure, not a problem. step aside or whatever that you do, or the next day or whatever. And it comes down to crunch the numbers, right? You say, okay, wait a minute. Okay, so how much do I charge for product? How much do I charge for install? Right. And then you have, I'm experimenting. There's two ways to go about it. You can include the install into the price, like a bundle, right? And just be like, oh, this product is $300 installed, right? Or you can separate it, right? Which I'm kind of more of a fan. I'm leaning more toward this way. I'm not gonna lie to you. You could say, okay, this is the cost of our product, and this is the cost of our installation, right? I'm leaning more this way, right? Because
Yeah.
this way, I just want them to buy my product, to be honest with you. You don't gotta use me for installation, right? But we're all professionals here. Anybody listening, they know it's the truth. If you sell, right, the installation fee is already included in the product. It's already included. So when you can go, even Home Depot or even the large big box stores, they will do an entire house for like $100. You ask an installer to install, I don't know, 25 shades for $100. They're gonna be like, "Have a nice day,"
Yeah.
you know. But you can do that if your margins are large enough. You can do it. You can say, sure, I'll include installation to help you out, right? But all that comes down to, in the very end of the day, you gotta get those numbers on point, right?
Yeah.
And that's what it is. You gotta do your research. And if I can say when, now this year, January, I become more aggressive in selling, and that's when I can say, okay, my numbers are almost on point, for sure.
Love that. You've also talked about wanting to grow the business beyond being physically present, right? And requiring you to be part of it. What does that next version of your business look like to you?
I'm a people person. I love people, and every day, even when I go to any one of my stores, it doesn't matter if it's I don't know, even like one vertical blind, anything doesn't matter. And if the profit is almost non-existent, to me, I will always treat each and every customer the same way. I want to go to sleep without a doubt in my mind that I have done the best that I can in this project, right? But I'm a business owner, right? I
Yeah.
This is my business. I know what I want, right? And only I can deliver what I want, right? The thing is now, when I'm trying to get away from being a physical business, right? I want to, the end of the day, make money, but I can only install one place at a time perfectly, right? I can't split myself into two. And but I can sell 10 shades to 10 individual people, and even if I make only $100 per transaction, that's already made $1,000.
Yeah.
You understand what I mean? So just for me, it's better. I decided that, you know what, that's the way to go, is to, selling. So but that's where I started joining Facebook groups, and I want to go national, to be honest with you, because I
Okay.
can say, hey, I want to sell somebody in, I don't know, California, whatever, right? Why not? And just reach out to anybody over there in the groups or anybody in the network, say, hey, I'm bidding on a project in this area, is anybody interested, right? And if I see that the this is why I'm more of a fan of separating product with installation costs, right? If I see that the budget is kind of tight, right, and I like the installer because they do good work, you never want to undercut your installers, like, ever, right? If I see that there's no room for me, right, to add on top for installation, I'll say, you know what, I'll go to the installer, you know what, just give me your price, and it is what it is. I'm making my money from the product, you make your money from the installation. You know what I mean? And that's I think that's the goal, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Now I
Yeah.
know that you've tried to bring in installers before,
Hmm.
and it didn't go over as well as you wanted to. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, for sure. Well, here's the thing, because one more time, it does go to being a business owner, you know the results and the quality that you want, right? And you will be and provide the best that you can because you have a lot to lose. Okay, it's a lot to
Yeah.
lose. But as an employee, it doesn't matter if that employee is the best of the best. What they gotta lose? You know what I mean? They got nothing to lose, and so I used to pay people per day because from construction background, right? I used to pay per day, and I would say, "Hey, man, listen, I pay you this much money. That's it." And I will have discussions, the goals, and say, "Hey, listen, we got to meet a quota. 30 shades per day, 40 shades per day. I don't care whatever time. If it takes you 2 hours, it takes you 10 hours. It don't matter. Just meet the quota, and you can go home. It's not a problem for me. I'm not like a super greedy guy, right?" And so time passed, and this guy was like very smart, very efficient. But when I was there,
Oh,
when because I do the installs myself, right? I hire when I need to, right? And so when I'm gone, because I had trained him, spent so much time together, I said, "Listen, I can't be here, but I brought you a helper, right? And you guys can work together. You know the building already. We've done 600 plus shades of that same thing. You're basically a robot, you know. You don't need to think. You just do it, right? And you know what we gotta do. You know the quota. You know everything, right? And that's fine. But I have had days where the quota might be 30 shades per day, and he'd be like, I came late. I'm sorry, and I had to leave, so I only did 15 shades, you know. And I'm just like, man, like this guy's good, but when I'm there,
yeah.
you know. So even Steve, he says you pay them wrong. You cannot pay per day because they have nothing to lose. One shade, 10 shades, you still make the same amount of money. You gotta pay them on
Yeah.
performance, you know. So that's what I'm gonna do going forward. I have downscaled, right? Uh, because I'm trying to optimize everything, and now I will upscale again. But I've noticed that fellow installers, I'm not gonna tell them, "Hey, I'll pay you $200 a day." No, no, no. I tell them, "Listen, this is how many shades, right? You give me a price, right?" They have a lot to lose. If they don't do a good job, they lose me. One more time, I'm a nobody, but I'm just saying, right? In the network, right? And they
Yeah.
lose, say, for example, a customer, if that was only their customer, you know. And so it's different. So that's what I'm saying. It's a little tough to bring people on board and expect them to give you the same quality that you expect because it's not their business. It's just
Right.
how it is. It's a fact. It's sad, but it's the truth. These are the facts. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you're wanting to move towards a national approach, that you kind of have to have those expectations in there from what your costs are going to be,
Yeah.
as well as the expectation of what they're going to output at the end of the day. So, especially when you can't physically be there because it's on the other side of the country or something like that.
Yeah.
What challenges do you think that you're going to run into beyond that, as you try to scale beyond just the local and towards the national side?
Communications and trust. Trust is big. Trust is big, because my dad obviously been in business for so many years, and every other person, every now and then, it's like, how do you know they're not going to take your customer? You know what I mean? How do you know they're not going to undercut you and just take your customer away? Yeah, that's a risk. It's the truth. It is a risk, but you know what? It's the risk of business. You know, and the thing is that, so
Yeah.
say I were to, I don't know, undercut Steve, for example, right? Say I were to meet one of Steve's client and just be like, "Hey, I know he's charging you this much, but why don't you give me the job, right? I'll give you a lower price, right?" Sure, maybe I've gotten that job, but I've lost Steve. Invaluable
Right.
experience, crazy connections. He brings me on to large scale projects when he needs help. You know what I mean? So yeah, maybe I made a little extra money here from this person, but I've lost thousands of dollars, you know, and hours of mistakes, you know. So yeah, that's a it's a real thing. But there's a lot of risk.
I wanted to ask you while we're on this subject around your mindset. So, how has your mindset changed when it comes to control versus delegation?
If I believe let me try to answer in the way that I think you're saying it. First of all, control. You can only control so much. I'm not gonna lie to you. You can only control so much. You can tell somebody, "Hey, I want you to do this," and they're gonna say yes, right? But without you being there, right? What you gonna do? You're not present. You're not there. You can only do so much, right? So you're gonna have to take that responsibility upon yourself and say, hey, if this person messes up, hopefully I have $1 or $2 extra in my bank account to maybe refund them the whole service, you know, because reputation is massive in any business. It's okay to lose money. You're going to lose money, but you can always make it. But man, when your reputation goes down, very hard to get that back. Very
Yeah.
hard.
Yeah, definitely makes sense. And it's something that every business owner struggles with, I'm sure. So, couple fun questions for you. What's one tool or habit that's made your life easier since you started your business?
Say it one more time. Can't say enough. I'm not going to let you. AI, Chat GPT. I've been driving. I remember driving back from a customer's house to my house, and I believe it or not, I do a lot of jobs in Jersey, which is hour to 2 hour drive back home. And within that hour remaining time that I had to get back to my house, there was times where I have like three customers contact me at the same time. You know, say, hey, send me a quote, right? And I say, okay. So now how I'm gonna do it if I'm driving, right? It's impossible, right? But I said within that 1 hour, a lot of things can happen. So why would I lose that opportunity? I've already uploaded price lists into my AI, and then I just copy and paste or screenshot whatever, because sometimes the customers give us dimensions, right? And I would say, hey, these are the measurements. They're looking for this. Give me a quote based on this person's price list, you know? And then so that's it. Copy and paste, copy and paste, copy and paste, you know? three quotes within 30 minutes. That's it. Done. You know? AI, you gotta get it. It has to
Yeah,
happen.
that's
Hmm.
great. I think most people are probably at least starting to dabble in that world now, and it can definitely really make things a lot easier if you're careful, right? What's something that you think most window treatment pros overcomplicate?
You know what? Um, I don't know, but my gut is measurements. You're gonna laugh, but it's the truth, right? Measurements. When you go and you take measurements, you gotta have confidence in yourself, right? Because there's 10 million reasons, you know, that can go wrong, and you can say if you get distracted, right, or you're driving back home and you already got your measurements and everything, and then you say, "Oh, what happened if, man, did I forget this?" Or maybe I took it, the measuring tape from the wrong. Maybe if I had moved it maybe 1/8, what about that little crack up there, you know? And it starts messing with your mind, you know, and then you're like, wait, maybe I should go back and take those measurements again, right? But you're gonna go crazy. No. You take your measurements, you double check, and that's it. Move on to the next window or whatever, and the next and next and next, because there's 10 million things, to be honest. They can go wrong and so many factors, you know. But whatever it is, that's it. It is what it is. Have confidence in yourself, for sure.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, that's great. That's great. Yeah. What's one thing that people would be surprised to learn about you?
About me, I don't know actually, but for whatever reason, a lot of people are surprised. My wife is Peruvian. They expect another Albanian girl, you know. And I'll tell people, yeah, my wife's Peruvian. They're like, what? And they're like, you speak Spanish? I'm like, I don't really have a choice. When I go to her family Christmas, all I hear is my name in Spanish, and And I'm just like, what are they talking about? You know? So I gotta know, you know? Yeah. Yeah, it's a silly
I
thing,
love
but
that.
yeah.
That's great. That's great. You're dumped into it whether you like it or not at that point. Anthony, where can people learn more about Skuga Blinds if they want to connect with you?
You know what? You could just go check out our Instagram, and over there you see pictures of photos, and I think I have some videos up there, right? And you could just
Okay.
message us and just say, hey, reaching out, and we're interested, or maybe collaborating, or hey, I want whatever, you know. Reach us
Yeah.
over there, and it's not a problem. We'll help you to the best of our ability for sure. Hmm.
I love that. We'll make sure to link that in our show notes as well, just so everybody
Hmm.
can connect with you easily.
Hmm.
For someone that is listening and maybe they're stuck in that installer mindset, what's a piece of advice that you'd give them to help them start thinking bigger?
I'll tell them what my supplier told me, and what Bob told me. You gotta start selling. You gotta start. I'm so serious. It has changed my life, and I'm still new, but I see a pattern. I'm telling you, man. It's very hard to scale uh, 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 with an installation only, right? Because that would mean you will need an installation team and installers. To find good installers, it's not easy. It's not easy, I'm telling you, because in one hand, what are you doing? I'm coming from a construction background, right? What are you doing? You're putting brackets from one side, like it looks like a joke, right? Brackets, right? In the construction industry, if you can't put up brackets, maybe you should stay home, to be honest with you, right? But it's more complex than that. I'm telling you,
Yeah.
I've brought in team members from my construction side, and they're just like, wait, what? This is not as easy as I thought it was gonna be, you know? And so it's tough, you know. You gotta find somebody that's you gotta be patient, you gotta be technical, but you gotta be, you know what, not just that, you gotta learn efficiency. Instruction manuals, I'm not gonna lie to you, they're not always very helpful, right? You gotta be able to notice patterns as an installer, you know. And I've learned that from doing large scale installations, right, in the thousands, right? Because to be honest with you, look, you won't feel it if you save a minute here and there in 20 shades, right? But when you're doing the hundreds of shades, I'm telling you, for example, 1,000 shades, right? If you can save 1 minute, just 1 minute per installation, per shade installation, you have saved 1,000 minutes in total. And that's a lot of time. That's a lot of time, and therefore a lot of money extra to go in your pocket. But you gotta stop, man. It's tough to scale just installations only. It's very tough, very tough.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Well, Anthony, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and insight today. I appreciate it. It's been a pleasure speaking with you.
thank you so much for
Yeah.
having me on. It's really is. It was a pleasure, and if anything, an honor. I appreciate it so much.
Yeah.
Thank
Well,
you.
that's a wrap for today's episode of Marketing Pains. Anthony shared a real look into what it takes to grow a window treatment business, from pricing and competition to scaling systems and thinking beyond this job site. If you're in the industry and thinking about your next step, whether that's improving your pricing, building systems, or just getting more control over your time, this one should give you something to think about. If you found this helpful, share it with someone in the industry who's in the trenches right now. And as always, follow Marketing Pains for more conversations like this, where we break down what's actually working in real window treatment businesses.